This little brat with the grumpy face is none other than our protagonist, Jackie Elgon. Don't let the fact that he's just a baby fool you. In his past life, he was the patriarch, Professor Elgon, of the strongest clan on the continent. As for why he ended up in the body of an infant like this, we have to go back over 1,000 years. He had reached the absolute pinnacle of martial arts, but then he realized a human lifespan is never enough. To overcome this reality, he clung to an ancient legend. It said that deep within a sacred sanctuary, guarded by a divine dragon, there was a hidden golden fruit. That fruit was said to hold the power of immortality, the longevity fruit. With this thought in mind, Jagger Lister went to defeat the dragon god and truly witnessed that miraculous fruit. Dragging his battered body, he crawled toward the tree and quickly plucked the fruit. With this, I can still pursue the absolute peak of martial arts. Jackie spoke joyfully and immediately devoured it, without a second of hesitation. This was Professor Elgon, the man known as the strongest in the world. Time passed quickly, and several decades later, inside a certain room, sorrowful cries echoed continuously. It doesn't matter, it's just a matter of time. He is old now, at least let him rest in peace. Sitting by the bedside was the eldest son of the William family. He kept calling out his father's name. His expression made Jackie, trapped in an aged body, speak up to remind him. Don't make that pathetic face. My time has simply run out. Hearing that, William joked back. This mansion feels so cold, without mother or you. Jackie shook his head slightly. Don't be so weak. As he spoke, he thought to himself. In the end, those legends were unreliable, but I was still lucky to have a good wife and children. He reached out to stroke his grandson's face and continued, my dear children, I have lived long enough. I have no regrets left. Well, that's what he said on the outside. But inside, Jackie was absolutely bitter. Don't be ridiculous. Of course I have things I regret. If only I could have more time. If only I had more time. I still haven't reached the absolute peak of martial arts. Jackie, trembling, raised his withered hands toward the sky. His son, seeing this sight, couldn't hold back his tears. And so, Professor Elgon ended his life. Or so it seemed. Who knows how much time had passed, but the professor suddenly woke up, his heart filled with confusion. Did I just doze off? This wallpaper pattern. Isn't this from the annex building? My body feels strangely light. And what is with these tiny hands? Jackie was shocked as he looked at his miniature hands. Aren't these the hands of an infant? Have I become a newborn baby? Thinking about this, even the strongest man in the world couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. It took a few seconds for him to calm down, as he tried to reassure himself. Phew, calm down for a second. To pull someone like me, someone who reached the 10-star level, into such a bizarre situation, without being noticed, this is clearly not normal. Who could have done this and how, then? A flash of realization struck him, as he remembered something. Could it be because of that fruit? I get it now. It seems the effect of that fruit wasn't eternal life, but reincarnation. I didn't expect this. But this is truly a stroke of luck. Now, I can finally witness the absolute peak of martial arts. At that thought, our protagonist couldn't stop grinning from ear to ear. Then, he shifted his gaze to observe the scene inside the room, where countless cradles holding babies were lined up. Given the situation, Jackie quickly deduced his current circumstances. Let's see. There are other infants sleeping here too. I am in the annex, which means I have once again been born into the Elgon clan. But why are there so many babies gathered in one place? Just as he thought this, from the outside, a group of maids entered, carrying a pitcher of red liquid, along with several empty bottles into the room. While they were pouring the liquid into the bottles, Jackie analyzed the situation quickly. Maids of the Elgon clan. And it looks like it is feeding time. After all, this place is full of infants. Unaware of the thoughts in his head, one maid spoke up. Get ready. Yes, ma'am, another replied immediately. Out of nowhere, they pulled out a goblin and directly shoved a bottle of that red liquid into the goblin's mouth. But their actions left the protagonists utterly confused. Why is there a goblin here? What on earth are they planning to do? As if answering Jack's question. Right after that, the goblin's chest suddenly glowed red, like molten steel. Then, its chest literally exploded, spraying fresh blood all over. Jackie, he was left in a total daze. What the hell just happened? On the other side, the maid continued. If we dilute it this much, it should be safe. Hurry up and feed them. Yes, ma'am, the others replied, and quickly went to feed the infants. That red liquid. The professor himself obviously couldn't escape that fate. And because he had just seen what happened to the goblin right now, the professor was scared out of his mind. What is this? What are they forcing us to drink? This isn't milk. What is this liquid? It contains an immense source of power. Feeding infants something this dangerous is insane. Despite his thoughts, the moment the nipple was pressed to his mouth, Jack's body automatically opened up and started sucking greedily. This made the professor incredibly frustrated. Damn it, I forgot that I'm just a baby right now. Then, as the red liquid was swallowed, the professor realized what it was. This is ancient dragon blood. What are these idiots thinking? Making us drink this? So the dilution they mention was for this purpose. This is a bad situation. I have to spit it out. I've already swallowed some. A small amount like this probably won't kill me. But the other babies are spitting it out instinctively. I need to do the same before I explode. But, is this really the right thing to do? Jackie asked himself. But then, he realized. This is a golden opportunity. If I absorb all of this energy, I can surpass even my past self and reach the absolute pinnacle of martial arts. I don't know the reason for this, but I will seize this chance. Don't you dare underestimate me. Don't underestimate Professor Elgon, Jackie screamed in his mind, while he himself clenched his teeth, enduring the pain brought by the dragon blood. Jack's eyebrows furrowed tightly as he thought. Don't look down on Professor Elgon. The maid was startled to see him gripping the bottle with such force. This child, Jackie frowned and puffed his cheeks, nursing with all his might as he thought, I will absorb every last drop of this dragon power, and then I will be able to reach the absolute peak of martial arts that I could never grasp in my previous life. In his mind, an ancient dragon spread its wings, letting out a relentless roar. Its eyes flashed with a golden light. As it stared down another dragon, Jackie watched as the ancient dragon lunged, biting down hard on the other's neck. He wondered, what? This power is being absorbed surprisingly easily. This is perfect. Back in reality, he lay in his cozy cradle, brows furrowed as he scanned his surroundings. Somehow, I managed to pull it off. Jackie lay there, sensing the energy from the nearby cradles. The other children seemed to have survived as well. Never underestimate the survival instincts of a newborn. Damn it, this really is a child's body. After a long while, he sucked on his finger and drifted off. Suddenly feeling so sleepy, time flew by, and it was 7 years later. In the middle of a forest, a voice rang out, counting, 998, 999. Jackie was doing one-handed push-ups with a massive boulder balanced on his legs. With a surge of strength, he kicked the boulder high into the air. He quickly leaped aside, dodging the rock as it crashed back to earth. The former patriarch of the Elgon clan looked at his hands and sighed. Still such a magnificent physique, all thanks to the dragon blood. He reflected on the current world. Every living creature possesses power. Jackie thought of the blood he drank years ago. The dragon blood forced upon him and the others held a source of infinite strength. Recalling that massive energy, he realized the children who consumed it now had physical abilities far beyond normal humans. Jackie felt that energy and thought, combined with the power of the divine dragon I defeated in my past life, which now dwells within me. Jackie was the only child to fully absorb the entirety of the dragon blood's power. He had undergone changes that amazed even himself. He closed his eyes and sighed to himself. But I've still only reached 1 star. Looking at his hands, he whispered. Being stuck at 1 star is pathetic. I should have reached at least 4 star by now. The stars represent one's internal power, achieved only when pushed to certain limits. He could feel the energy radiating from within. A body is like a universe with celestial stars floating inside. The more stars you have, the greater your power. But as the star count increases, forming the next one becomes exponentially harder. He had reached 10 star, an unprecedented record. He was the only person in the world to ever achieve that power. Brushing his hair back, he muttered, "Time really does fly." It's been 7 years since I was reborn as the illegitimate son of the Elgon clan patriarch. Jackie thought about his parents and pondered. My mother passed away, and my father hasn't shown his face once. I seriously doubt his qualities as a parent, but more importantly, he scratched his face, suddenly voicing a question. 1,000 years later? Really? Jackie recalled the scene of the maids feeding dragon blood to the children. Being reincarnated was shock enough. But coming back 1,000 years in the future, before I could even grasp the timeline. This world has become a place where survival of the fittest is tested to the extreme. This is the perfect example of that. He thought of the clan's leadership. Forcing infants to drink dragon blood is a ritual called the Dragon's Trial. Jackie thought of the survivors and mused. Only the children who survive this trial can receive education as Elgon warriors, or so it should be. He turned to see the maid coming out to find him. Jackie stared at her and shouted, "I'm afraid I can't answer that question." He thought back over the past 7 years. Not a single instructor had ever come for him. Jackie yelled at the maid, frustrated. "Isn't it strange? Those who pass the trial get combat training. Right, but here, they are only maids." She looked confused and asked back, "Is there an issue with that, sir?" Startled, he stammered, No issue." But Jackie pointed at himself and shouted, "Right now, physical training is more important to me than learning combat. I can handle that part on my own anyway." Hands on his hips, he looked at the maid and asked, "But I'd at least like to know a bit about the other children, or the main clan. Don't you think so?" She replied coldly, "I'm afraid I cannot answer that." Jackie frowned and asked again, "I'm just talking about family matters, you get it?" She closed her eyes. "I'm afraid I cannot answer." Hearing this, his face darkened as he barked, "Is that all you can say?" The maid frowned and retorted coldly, "I'm afraid I cannot answer that." Jackie shouted, hands on his hips, "Isn't treating me like this a bit too harsh?" She bowed respectfully and replied, "We are only ordered to take care of your daily needs." He stared at her, thinking, this maid is at the 3-star level. For basic combat training, even a maid would have been enough. Then, under her suspicious gaze, Jackie turned to leave. "Fine. Whatever. I'm going into the forest." Living together for 7 years with only minimal interaction like this, it's extremely abnormal. Just then, he turned back to check. "Are you finally ignoring me?" Then, Jackie walked alone into the dense, deserted forest. Next, he quickly pulled up a small plant. Jackie swiftly shoved the entire thing into his mouth and chewed it down. Immediately, he stuck his tongue out, groaning. Poisonous grass still tastes like crap, horrible, but this counts as training. He glanced around his surroundings, muttering to himself, "Patience, just have patience." Jackie looked at the bushes behind him and whispered, "But that gaze has been following me constantly. I really wish I could do something about it." He exhaled and shouted forward, "Ah! Didn't expect them to show up over something this trivial. Seriously? If you have something to say, come out and say it to my face." With a pout, Jackie walked quickly toward the spot, parting the bushes to investigate. Flashes of purple light flickered in the air. He hid behind the thick foliage, peering over as he whispered, "There's something over there." Jackie saw a wild boar, shrouded in black mist. "It's a berserk boar." He stared at it, frowning. Black mist? Something that didn't exist 1,000 years ago. What the hell is that thing? Suddenly, the boar turned and stared straight at Jackie. Black mist radiating from its body, as it locked eyes with him. Next, it charged toward him at full speed. Jack's face lit up with excitement, as he grinned at the beast. In an instant, he leaned aside to dodge the impact. His eyes flashed with intensity as he gathered golden light into his fist and struck. He delivered a massive punch, sending the wild boar flying backwards a great distance. Jackie looked at the fading light on his hand and exclaimed, "I only gave a light tap to something at the same level. 1 star, yet it generated that much power." He immediately hoisted the boar's carcass and left. The quality of the stars really is everything. I'm starting to get bored of being neglected like this. Maybe I should head out on an adventure? Jackie left the forest behind. Walking quickly, if I'm going anywhere. The sea is the first stop. Behind a tree trunk, a man gripped his staff tightly, thinking, what on earth is happening here? Even without formal training, he used 1-star power to defeat a berserk boar with just 1 blow. More importantly, he actually noticed my hidden presence. That kid is not normal. He thought about Jack's situation. Mother died young and the father doesn't care. How could a kid like Jackie have received any proper upbringing? However, because that clan blood flows in him, he isn't allowed to escape the family and is always under surveillance. The man sat cross-legged on the ground and muttered, "Even if he is illegitimate, he still belongs to the clan bloodline. I see. Things are going to get interesting later." In an instant, his figure vanished, leaving no trace behind. Elsewhere, at the house where Jackie had grown up, he tightened the straps of his backpack and wondered, who are they? 3 4-stars. And 1 5-star. All seasoned warriors. What do people like that want here? Jackie stood by the door, pressing his ear to the wood, listening to the conversation inside. The air is so fresh in the countryside, isn't it, Captain? There are no rifts nearby, so there's probably less chaos. They don't seem to have ill intent. At least it doesn't look like an assassination plot. In that case, he pushed the door open and questioned them. What business do you have in a place like this? Jackie looked at the emblems on their uniforms and thought suspiciously. The Elgon family crests. Did something happen? Immediately, the man stepped forward. Quickly, he removed his hat, placed a hand over his heart, and bowed respectfully. "This must be the first time we meet. We have come to escort you, Master Jackie." "Master Jackie, you must participate in a test." Jackie was startled and confused. A test? Right after that, he stared wide-eyed and gaped in shock. What? Inside that small wooden shack? Jack's cry of disbelief echoed everywhere. Even though I haven't been taught anything, Jackie crossed his arms, stunned by the news. I didn't expect to be going back to the main estate. Now, he stood before a massive, lavish manor, so I was brought back to the main clan by messengers sent from the headquarters. The servants quickly spoke up to remind him, "You need to change your clothes. You cannot enter the estate looking like this." He couldn't help but be stunned. "I can't enter?" But wasn't the plan for me to live at the main house? That place is called the Dragon's Den. It seems that over the last 1,000 years, the Elgon family has established a specialized educational academy. Jackie recalled what he had learned. Everyone born into the Elgon lineage aims to join the Dragon's Den. They are homeschooled until the age of 7. Today is the entrance exam. He smiled confidently and thought, well, I'm the one who hasn't been taught a damn thing. Jackie stood tall, surveying his surroundings. Then, he suddenly slumped down, clutching his head in annoyance. Regardless, taking the exam is mandatory. So I was dragged all the way from the border for this. Jackie looked back on that moment. Why did this have to happen right when I was planning to leave? All those preparations for nothing. As he was squatting on the ground, a voice suddenly came from behind him. A gentle-looking beau with blue hair leaned down to check on him. Are you okay? Is something wrong? Jackie looked up, puzzled. Who the hell are you? The beau explained awkwardly. I'm Jesse. You didn't look well, so I. Jackie still looked totally indifferent. As he stared at Jesse, the beau was radiating a certain energy. He evaluated the kid internally. This kid looks timid, but he's actually quite sharp. And so, Dick suddenly stood up and spoke. My apologies. He flashed a friendly smile and introduced himself. You are Jesse, right? I am Dick. Then Dick sighed and complained. I have no idea what they actually want us to do. Jesse looked confused hearing that. Clutching his own arm, he said, the exam content hasn't changed in years. Yet Dick nonchalantly replied. Oh, I do not even know what is on the test. Zero preparation. Hearing this, Jian's face went pale. What did you say? Jesse was baffled. Going in blind like that is way too reckless. Is he going to be okay? So he began explaining to Dick. Listen. Today's test consists of. Suddenly, a shout echoed from the distance. Hey, you, the weakest one, Jesse. Jesse jumped and turned around, looking terrified. At that moment, another guy walked up with a punchable face. This was Z from Oscar Village. He spoke with pure contempt. What is a loser like you doing here? Are you lost? Beat it and go home, before you get hurt. Jesse replied nervously. I am here for the Dragon's Lair exam, obviously. Hearing that, the guy sneered. You. Z clutched his stomach and laughed right in his face. No way. There is no way you will make it. Your father is a fake dragon, right? What could the son of a fake dragon possibly achieve? By now, Jesse's hands were trembling with rage. Dick noticed this too. Regarding the background of the Li family, Gold had a clear hierarchical system. Established by an absolute monarch, the prime dragon. Next were the infants, adult, and captain-level high dragons. Finally, at the very bottom, was the fake dragon village. Those who couldn't enter the dragon's lair, or failed to graduate, mockingly referred to as the greenhorns. He lowered his head, fuming inside. But I want to prove that we are not fakes. Just then, a voice spoke up, startling him. Why? How can you be so sure without even trying? Dick quickly stepped in front of the three bullies. Z saw this and snapped with irritation. Huh, who the hell are you? Got a problem, Dick replied calmly. Not really, I am just asking. Why can't Jian make it? The guy pointed straight at Jian and said. Because he is weak, obviously. Jian looked shocked to hear those words. Weak? Dick stared at Jesse and evaluated him. He is actually a lot stronger than you guys. Hearing this, Jian was stunned. Eyes wide, the bullies were enraged and immediately barked back. What did you say? You saying we are weaker than this failure? Suddenly, footsteps approached. Two men appeared and shouted for everyone to gather. This was the dragon instructor. He spoke sternly. The Dragon's Lair entrance exam begins now. Candidates must register in order. Then move quickly with your numbered tags. Z stopped arguing with Dick, but leaned in to give a warning. I remember your face, you bastard. Dick watched him leave and sighed heavily. No need to get that worked up. Kids these days are so short-tempered. Behind him, Jesse spoke up in confusion. Aren't we the same age? He lowered his head slightly and continued. Anyone would be pissed to hear that I am stronger than them. Dick looked at Jesse and replied softly, Is that so? He crossed his arms and stated the obvious. But this entrance exam is mandatory, isn't it? So saying stuff like it is impossible, or whatever. Jesse asked blankly. Can you actually withdraw? You really know nothing, do you? Dick replied. Wait, you can quit. I didn't even know that. Jian gave a forced laugh and continued. It might be better if you withdraw. At least that way you won't get hurt. Dick didn't explain further, just smiled and rubbed his chin. Someone at my level can't even quit. No matter how hard I try. Jian was impressed. You sure are confident. Even when you don't even know what the test is. Dick laughed cheerfully. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Hurry up, we need to move fast, or the exam will start. Jian scratched his head and replied, you're right. Then they focused and headed toward the instructor. He said the test was simple. If you can scratch this stone, you pass. No, weapons are allowed, except for what we have provided, but using your bare hands is fine, as long as a scratch appears on the boulder. The instructor held up 3 fingers and added, however, you only have 3 attempts. Hearing this, Dick couldn't help but comment. That sounds simple. Jian Jesse was taken aback. What? Dick thought to himself as he recalled. Just scratch the rock and that's it? After surviving that insane dragon trial, I expected this exam to be something truly terrifying. This is quite a letdown. Immediately after, the instructor coldly shouted, begin. Next, a student rushed up and struck the rock with all his might. Jian, on the other side, couldn't stop panicking, clutching his head. Another heavy impact followed. Suddenly, something snapped. The student's hand was bleeding. Dick's group watched in horror. The kid let out a cry and collapsed onto the ground. The instructor walked over, noted something, and asked, failed, 2 tries left. Do you want to try again? Seeing that he didn't move, the person nearby smirked. Consider it a forfeit. Clear him out. Then, right before everyone's eyes, they dragged the kid away. The next person stepped up. Jian Jesse was still holding his head in fear. Dick felt a surge of tension. So this is the test. Then another teenager failed as well. What exactly is that stone? He muttered while looking at the object. It is called the regenerating stone. It heals instantly, even from tiny scratches. Furthermore, when attacked with pure raw strength like that, it reflects the blow with a force hundreds of times stronger. Dick fell into thought after hearing that. Isn't that material way too unfair? Jian added, but if you circulate your power through your body correctly and strike, it will scratch. Dick understood but was still calculating. I see, from what I've gathered, martial arts skills are less important than learning to control one's inner power. He glanced around at the surroundings. Right now, everyone present was tense, looking down. It seemed very few could pass this test, including those guys from this morning. Another agonizing scream rang out. The bull was crying from fear. Number 51, fail. Next, Jian Jesse began explaining to Dick. Number 202, fail. Next, the tags dropped to the floor. The emotionless instructor continued writing on his paper. Then he spoke again. Next, number 315. Dick looked at his tag and spoke up. It is my turn. Seeing this, Jian Jesse worriedly told Dick, isn't there still a chance to back out? Dick waved at him and walked down. Do not worry. Jian Jesse watched him go, heart racing. Jian stood speechless. The instructor pointed Dick in the right direction, pen in hand, ready to take notes. Right at that moment, the instructor's eyes widened in pure shock. From behind Dick, a massive surge of energy erupted. Dick let out a faint smirk. The weapons were on the rack. But seeing Dick step up empty-handed, the dragon instructor asked doubtfully, no weapon? Dick confirmed, yes, unnecessary. This fist is more than enough. Up in the stands, the students started whispering, is that guy really planning to use his bare hands? Even if he is good at power control, he can't scratch that boulder with just his hands. His fist is going to be pulverized. Jian Jesse's face went pale hearing the comments. No. Forget the hand. His whole arm might go flying. He blamed himself internally. As expected, I should have stopped him more forcefully. Fine. The instructor didn't push it. I see, then begin. Touching the boulder, Dick assessed it silently. Indeed, this is the first time I've seen a mineral like this. It must be a product, formed over 1,000 years. There is so much I still don't know. Oh well, he reassured himself. No problem. Immediately after, he wound up his fist. Jian Jesse stood up in a panic. This is bad. I have to stop him. he screamed at the top of his lungs. Meanwhile, Dick was feeling a rush of excitement. I can unleash my full power, right now. Jian watched helplessly as Dick showed no intention of stopping. The technique Dick used was Dragon Ruin Martial Art, First Form. Critical impact. In a flash, the boulder exploded. Debris went flying everywhere. The force was so intense that Jian, standing far away in the stands, recoiled in fear. The dragon instructor stood frozen because this was beyond anything he could imagine. Dick smirked arrogantly. Just as I thought. He felt triumphant. This technique is still a bit too much for my current body. I still need a lot more practice. The stands went dead silent. No one had recovered from what they just saw. A moment later, Z spoke up in a rage. He actually smashed that rock to pieces. Laika also expressed admiration. Interesting, Jian was still in a daze, unable to believe what had just unfolded. Then he cried out in shock. What? Meanwhile, the instructor evaluated Dick silently. Impossible. This kid pulverized half a regenerating stone. This should only be possible for a 4-star rank. Or higher. Yet a child just did it. Doubt filled the instructor's mind. Even if he is an illegitimate child, does he truly possess the blood of the main line? But that technique just now, I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. Seeing him spaced out, Dick asked, Hey, instructor, can I ask what my result is? The dragon instructor immediately announced, Number 315. Pass. The assistant brought a gift over. Here, take this. Dick was curious. What is this? At the same time, the assistant whispered, Can you hurry up and get out of here? I have to clean up this mess. Dick stomped his foot in annoyance. Is everyone in this era like this? Always in such a rush. Slow down a bit, will you? Jian ran up with eyes full of admiration. Dick, that was amazing. You actually smashed it. Dick gloated. It was easy. Remembering the gift, he asks, Oh right. Jian, what is this? Jian Jesse was stunned. You were given a recovery potion. Dick was even more confused. A recovery potion? Jian replied happily. A standard one. Dick held it up to examine it. It doesn't look like poison. Don't tell me this is an elixir. In reality, it was the Cloud Stream Clarity, a medicine made from extremely rare ingredients. To be more specific, it contains herbs that only grow in secret realms, with a core filled with pure power from mythical beasts and phantoms, which are incredibly difficult to defeat. The specific effect is not just healing fresh wounds, but even old scars are instantly cured, showing massive effectiveness in boosting one's power source. However, due to the extreme difficulty of gathering ingredients and the complex refining process, it rarely ever appears. Dick decided to take a sip of the Cloud Stream Clarity to see if it was anything special. To his surprise, the wound on his arm healed in an instant. He was genuinely shocked. Is this actually an elixir? Jian explained. I don't know about elixirs, but the recovery potions that the Elgon family prepares are definitely better than the ones sold in stores. He asked tentatively, Are you that surprised? Dick was honest. Of course I am. Serious wounds like these were healed immediately. However, he was slightly disappointed. It doesn't seem to increase the power source like an elixir would. Jian expressed to me. You are even more incredible. Dick thought to himself, what the hell is he talking about? At the same time, he realized something. No, this is actually the wisdom of mankind, accumulated over more than 1,000 years. Meanwhile, Jian praised, You are truly amazing. Dick, you are incredibly strong. Dick replied casually, Well, I am aiming to become the strongest. Jian's admiration grew even further. You say those things so calmly. Below the stands, the test was still ongoing. Number 373, pass. Pass. Number 395, pass. Number 405, pass. Hearing the results, Dick thought to himself, it's expected that they would pass. Next, number 414. Despite his fear, Jian was determined. It is my turn. I will. Dick shouted to cheer him on. Hey, why are you so nervous? It's fine. Just stay calm. Don't set your expectations too high. But seeing Jian Jesse prepare, Dick was fed up. What the hell is that guy doing? Jian took a deep breath. The instructor gave the signal to start. Jian squeezed his eyes shut and swung his sword. The instructor coldly reminded. First attempt. Failed. 2 more tries. Jian pushed himself. One more time. This time I'll get it. Jian Jesse picked up the sword again and slashed hard at the boulder. The second result was another miserable failure. He trembled. No way. The other students laughed in his face. Just as expected, a fake dragon's son is still just a fake dragon. Give up taking this chance. Z brought up the past. What did you say earlier? Z mocked loudly. Didn't you say that loser Jian Jesse over there was stronger than us? The words became more and more insulting. Stop talking nonsense. It's pathetic, the instructor asked. You have one last try. Do you want to go again? Jian was shaking like a leaf. I don't know. Before he knew it, Dick was by his side. What do you think you're doing? Dick asked, confused. Why aren't you using a spear? Why did you pick a sword? Jian didn't catch his meaning. What do you mean? Dick explained calmly. Like I said. Why use an unsuitable weapon? Without any kind of plan. From the stands, someone added fuel to the fire. In your current state, no matter how hard you try, you can't even scratch that boulder with a sword. Especially with a sword. The other students burst into laughter. Are you stupid? His father never even used a spear. He only taught him swordsmanship. Another group of students whispered to each other. Exactly. Changing weapons won't change a damn thing. Ignoring those voices, Dick politely asked the instructor, Excuse me, is switching weapons during the test against the rules? He replied indifferently, Not a problem. Dick excitedly coached Jian. You heard the man. This is your lucky break, Jian. So, he provoked him to spark some determination. Are you just going to let it end like this? Images from the past suddenly flashed through his mind. Jian Jesse slowly stood up. No, I will. And he decided to try the spear. Recalling the old days, my father could never enter the dragon's lair. Still, he was the kindest, gentlest man. He treated Jian Jesse with so much love, whether I was sad or happy. He always had a habit of patting my head. He was labeled a fake dragon and mocked. Even so, my father didn't care about any of that and raised me to be the person I am. He taught me every little thing about life. From how to hold a sword to how to use it. Back to reality in the middle of this plaza. Jian Jesse swore to himself. The person my father raised is not a fraud. Today, right here, I will prove it. Despite his resolve. Deep down, Jian's mind was racing with doubt. He looked down at the spear in his hand, thinking nervously. If I try the sword again, the result will be the same. Fine, I will put my trust in Dick. But how do I even use a spear now? Dick, standing beside him, spoke up. Jian Jesse. He pointed toward the regenerating stone and cheered him on. Just thrust forward and don't think. Just strike straight, encouraged by Dick. Jian felt some of his anxiety melt away, but he was still heart-pounding. Jian Jesse gripped the spear tightly. He muttered to himself for motivation. Thrust straight ahead. His mind unconsciously drifted to the past, from being mocked by Z's gang, to Dick always staying by his side. Jian Jesse thought. Logically, thrusting a spear I've never held before. Shouldn't even scratch that stone, but even though we just met. It's quite strange, but, as he thought that, he finally made up his mind. Aiming the spear directly at the regenerating stone, he said firmly. I get it, I'll give it everything. He kept repeating in his heart that, since Dick believed in him, he would try to believe in himself too. With that thought, he lunged at the stone. The spear in his hand began to emit a faint glow. Jian Jesse seemed to feel the power. The spear was grunting him, mixed with joy and worry. He thought, I've held a sword my whole life, but never has the flow within me moved like this. Enough thinking. Jian let out a roar as he used every ounce of strength to drive the spear into the stone. Z's gang, unaware of the outcome, burst into loud laughter, taking turns to mock him. Told you so. Just changing the weapon won't help a loser like him do anything. Slow motion as Jian struck the regenerating stone. As the spearhead accelerated toward the target, he couldn't believe it. It feels like it was always a part of my body. Since the very beginning, the sharp spearhead struck with the speed of light. As the spear pierced through the stone, dust and debris exploded outward. Z's gang was in total shock, eyes wide, shouting, "What the hell?" The assistant instructor, beside the dragon instructor, also cried out in surprise. My god, though the dragon instructor remained stoic. He couldn't help but comment, he didn't just scratch it. He drove right through it. Jian's test concluded. Dick stood up immediately to applaud him. Incredible. Well done. Jian. Jesse was still dazed, asking blankly, "What did I just do?" The dragon instructor recorded the result. Number 414. Pass. Jian stood frozen, spear still in hand. Stuttering in disbelief, I passed. Dick threw an arm around him, grinning. Exactly, you did it, just like I thought. As it finally sank in, Jian's eyes welled up with tears of joy. I passed. He hugged Dick excitedly, shouting, I really did it. I actually passed. Dick chuckled, told you so. On the stands, the two guys next to Zeton are making a scene, refusing to acknowledge Janissier's talent. It was just a fluke. Exactly, that must be it, right? At that moment, Zeton, the dragon instructor, announces loudly, the entrance exam has officially ended. He looks at the list of passing students in his hand, then continues the announcement. The induction ceremony will begin right now. Hearing that, Zeke curiously asks Janissier nearby, the induction ceremony? Is that all? Janissier immediately replies, yeah, there might be other tests. After we start our classes. Zeke asks again. So, what do we do now? Janissier doesn't really know how to answer this either. Only manage a vague response, there's probably nothing for us to do. Right then, steady footsteps are heard approaching. A majestic group of people slowly walks out to the center of the square. Seeing them, the dragon instructor speaks up. The leaders of the Elgon clan will have a congratulatory speech for all of you. Noticing a man with an imposing but dark aura among the crowd, Zeke curiously asks Janissier, who is that gloomy bastard? Janissier turns pale hearing him call the man that, but still answers honestly. That is the clan head. Zeke shows zero respect, bluntly commenting, the clan head. With that face, can't he brighten up a little? Ice is probably warmer than him. Hearing those words, Janissier is scared out of his wits. Hurriedly covers Zeke's mouth, half begging, half demanding, please, just shut up. Then he slowly removes his hand from Zeke's mouth. But still sweating bullets, constantly repeating, please, keep it down, okay? Zeke nods and says nothing more. His gaze, he looks back at the leaders of the Elgon clan, thinking to himself, so that is the current strength of the Elgon clan. A few 7-star rankers, a fair amount of 6-star rankers, quite a formidable force. Thinking this, he can't help but marvel internally. Then Zeke looks at the man, the clan head, lost in thought, and the current patriarch, the current head of the Elgon clan, Banjo Elgon, looking at the mysterious aura radiating from him. Zeke quietly evaluates, I'd guess he is at least an 8-star ranker, according to his knowledge. This level is extremely rare. 1,000 years ago, not even 12 people in the world possessed it. He's not sure about this era. But thinking about this, he stops keeping his thoughts internal and says it right out loud. I don't like him. Hearing that, Janissier turns and stares at him intensely. Zeke regains control and thinks to himself, when I think that he is the father, the other leaders of the Elgon clan stand aside to both sides to make a path for Banjo to reach the center. The dragon instructor loudly signals everyone. A few words from Lord Banjo. Listen up. Banjo walks straight to the center position. Banjo begins, his voice devoid of any warmth, briefly delivering just one sentence. Strive to become the flesh and blood of Elgon. His words release a strange wave of magic, blowing Zeke's hair back. Everyone sitting in the stands couldn't escape the fate of being blasted, almost blown off their feet. Noisy voices start whispering to each other. I can't breathe. Zeke is unaffected, but looking at Janissir, who is struggling to breathe, face turning purple. He worriedly calls out, "Janissir," then looks at the others around him, gasping for air. He begins to realize, even the other kids are being crushed by this guy's pressure. He frowns and scowls, thinking, what a horrific presence. Others might not know what's happening, but I really don't like him. When Banjo turns and retreats, the air in the square finally returns to normal. Suddenly, applause rings out. Another man, also a leader in the Elgon clan, laughs loudly and follows up on Banjo's speech. Yes, truly valuable words of encouragement. Lord Banjo has quite high expectations for you kids. Zeke notices him, wondering to himself, who is that, then? The man's booming voice continues the speech. So I don't need many more words of greeting. Give it your best, young ones. Finishing his words, he laughs out loud again. Zeke is still curious about who he is as he steps down. That man chats casually with the dragon instructor. The dragon instructor teases him, "Are you serious?" saying it like it's a fact. The other man jokes back, "People who worry about small things will go bald, you know, whatever," not caring about his identity anymore. Zeke now only thinks to himself, I don't get what's going on, but luckily the atmosphere has changed. After that pressure earlier, the students in the stands are dead silent. No one says a word. No one even dares to breathe loudly. As for Zeke, he doesn't care about these trivial things. Sitting indifferently, looking down at the square, now the dragon instructor holds a list in his hand, loudly announcing, "We will now announce the dormitory assignments. Those whose names are called, move out immediately." Hearing this, Zeke curiously asks Janissir, "Aren't we all going to the same place?" Janissir, based on his knowledge, explains to him, "No, actually, there are 4 dragon dents. The incoming students will be allocated to halls, corresponding to east, west, south, and north." Zeke nods, "I see." At this point, the dragon instructor reads number 315. Zeke stands up and smiles, saying goodbye to Janissir. "It's my turn." Janissir says, "Take care." Zeke also sincerely wishes him, "Yeah, you too." Zeke arrives at the East Dragon Den, filled with elegant, classic buildings and spacious, shady gardens. Zeke is holding a note in his hand, scratching his head and sighing. After 1,000 years, so many things have changed. Is it here? So much has changed. I guess we need to turn here. Finally, after a struggle to find his way, he found his dormitory room. He exclaims in relief, "Here it is. Oh man. I'm late because I got lost. My roommate must have arrived already." Zeke turns the knob and opens the door. He happily waves to the person inside, friendly saying, "Sorry for making you wait. Starting from today, we're roommates." Looking vaguely at the person before him, he freezes for a moment and asks in doubt, "Are you, Zeke?" He grins and exclaims, "Seems like we're destined to meet, huh?" Janissir, the blue-haired beau, smiles back. "It really seems so. I was afraid I'd be alone. This is great." He plops down on the bed. "Nothing else to do today?" Janissir walks over to Zeke and answers, "Right, the training starts tomorrow." He pursed his lips and mumbled, "Oh right." Seeing this reaction, he asks again, "Are you even listening? The instructor said so earlier." Zeke smiles brightly and gives a thumbs up. "I didn't hear a damn thing." Janissir immediately shouts, "That is not something to brag about." Then he adds strictly, "Anyway, we should sleep early. Training starts tomorrow." Under the soft sunset glowing through the window, Zeke remains silent and reflective. He suddenly recalls the things he's been through, then calculates, "I intended to escape this boring house and go on an adventure and travel, but that resurrection stone and that medicine." Too many interesting things happened at the entrance exam. Zeke unconsciously looks toward the window, whispering to himself, to understand what has changed. After 1,000 years, staying with the Elgon clan for a while longer might not be so bad. Time passes quickly. 1 month later, at the Elgon clan fortress, on the training grounds, a group of kids are trembling, lifting weights with both hands, while someone keeps shouting at the top of their lungs, "Listen up, the dragon breath I taught you." is an incredible breathing technique created by the 15th clan head of the great Elgon family. The dragon instructor stands sternly and continues, "You must master this ultimate skill in every situation." As soon as he finishes, he turns to look in a certain direction, pondering. Lika is right before him, eyes closed, using the technique so well it makes him reflect. Many have already mastered the dragon breath, especially the young lady. Her primal power is showing signs of overflowing, proving she's about to reach to star rank. However, the dragon instructor shifts his suspicious gaze toward another direction, and there's that kid Zeke, sitting off to the side, easily lifting weights, while carrying 3 large boulders on his back. What is this, truly? The clan head's blood flows within him. But he has no mentor or any formal education. The dragon instructor stands behind him, observing silently, still unable to hide his shock. What kind of scene is this? Meanwhile, Zeke is calmly breathing in and out, thinking to himself, I didn't expect the Dragon King's breath I created to be modified and spread under the name Dragon Breath. He sits cross-legged with a bored expression. Around his body, a golden aura envelops him. A breathing technique is the skill of absorbing energy from the air into the body and circulating it to upgrade one's power. What determines the efficiency is the skill and finesse of the user. That's why prestigious clans all create their own methods, and perfected ultimate skills are kept as absolute secrets. Zeke closes his eyes and thinks Dragon Breath is quite safe and easy to learn. But if the goal is only for meditation, then I don't need it. The mature silhouette of his past life suddenly appears, the secret method Dragon King's breath passed down by diffuser Elgon, breathing technique that allows energy control without interrupting the breath, even while moving. Its efficiency is immense, but very few can inherit it due to its extreme difficulty. In Zeke's mind, the transmission process of this technique is mapped out. He immediately deduces, so they intentionally simplified it, so anyone could use it, thus raising the overall strength of the entire clan. Unexpectedly, my technique has been passed down to the future, changed into this form. How touching. I wonder if other martial arts have changed like this after a millennium. I'm looking forward to it. From a corner Zeke can't see, Lika is secretly keeping an eye on him. Shortly after, the kids, finished with training, begin their meal in the cafeteria. Amidst the lively atmosphere, 2 kids look on in horror, staring at the hand reaching for a food plate. Zeke happily opens his mouth wide, ready to scarf down the food he just got. Food crumbs are stuck all over his face. Zeke asks while chewing, "What's up?" "You look lost in thought, Janissir. You won't get stronger if you don't eat." "You know," Janissir asks back helplessly, "how are you so full of energy? Your stamina is freaking weird." He casually dismisses it. "It's because you're too weak." Zeke chuckles and pushes a plate of cake forward. "Eat more and train harder. No other way for you." The blue-haired boy sighs. "I have my own portion already." The next second, he suddenly glaces behind him. Anyway, a few of them are actually well trained. At that moment, Lika suddenly approaches him. "Hey, you're pretty good, aren't you?" Thinking that in his heart, Zeke still instinctively asks, "Who are you?" Janissir, standing by, immediately spits out his water. "How?" He pulls Zeke back and whispers urgently, "Zeke, don't you know? This is Lady Lika, the clan head's daughter." Zeke replies blankly, "Never heard of her." Janissir screams in panic again. "No way. She's one of the top candidates for the position of next clan head. Normally, we wouldn't even have the right to even speak to her." With his face pressed close, Zeke blurted out, "Well, if you put it that way, I'm also the clan head's son, even if I'm a bastard." Janissir is frozen in shock instantly. Meanwhile, Lika opposite them suddenly exclaims, "Really?" She asks back with a calm face, "You're the clan head's bastard son?" Next clan head candidate, Lika Tafona Elgam. Zeke leans back and answers immediately, "Why would I lie about something like that?" Lika questions him further. "Then why are you strong enough to crush the resurrection stone with your bare hands?" She slams her hand hard on the table. "An unsupported bastard. How could you possibly do that?" He turns back to continue cutting his meat, before slowly replying, "Well, Because I'm me. Genesir, stop daydreaming. Eat. Zeke's answer makes Licca silent for a moment. The very next second, she grins and says, "You're actually very interesting." Licca sits down comfortably next to him and suggests, "Become my subordinate." Zeke gives her a dead-eyed look. "Huh? What are you saying?" Licca repeats the offer while offering benefits. "I'm asking if you want to be under my command. I'll be your backer." A bastard like you must want allies. Right, in her head, she's already imagining the two of them standing side by side. Licca leans one arm on the table, smiling as she paints a picture of the future. "So use your strength to help me become the clan head. Naturally, I'll treat you well once I'm the leader." "What do you say?" Zeke closes his eyes and rejects her instantly. "No thanks." Licca's tone suddenly drops, forcing him to look over. "What is it?" "Don't tell me." She coldly radiates a powerful aura. "You're planning to take the clan head position yourself?" Zeke senses that aura and only thinks she's on the verge of Tostar, able to release spiritual energy from her body at this age. Interesting, but he answers indifferently. "Do whatever you want. I have zero interest in being clan head or whatever. Zero interest in family matters." Licca is surprised, slamming the table as she stands. "What? Then what else is there?" Before she can finish, something suddenly flashes before her eyes. Zeke's face darkens. He stabs the knife in his hand firmly into the table. The position of the knife is just centimeters away from Licca's fingers. Zeke's eyes widen, glowing with a golden hue as he speaks. "I serve no one. Because I am the strongest." Staring into those eyes, Licca's entire body freezes as if struck by lightning. "What?" Her face turns pale as she thinks, "Am I being overpowered?" Genesir stands up tremblingly to intervene. Calm down, okay?" Licca suddenly screams in an angry tone. "Then I'll force you to submit. Duel me." Zeke just stares blankly while chewing, while Genesir beside him is frozen in terror. A while later, a kid walking by suddenly turns and asks, "Where are you guys going?" There's a duel between a rookie and Lady Licca at the training grounds. The other kid exclaims in shock. "Lady Licca from the Tofona family, against who?" "Why, who knows?" At the training grounds, other rookies gather to watch the match, hiding behind the walls and whispering. They say it's a duel. Who's that guy anyway? Zeke scratches his head, muttering, "This is getting messy." Genesir asks worriedly, "Are you going to be okay?" "Your opponent is Lady Licca." He replies nonchalantly, "Even if you say that, I have no clue who she is. And besides, why did you suddenly switch to such formal speech?" The blue-haired beau's eyes widen as he shouts, "Of course, you're the clan head's son." Zeke just chuckles and says, "Do whatever you want." More importantly, Genesir grabs his arm and rants, "Please, think this through. Licca is the daughter of the current clan head, Banjo, and she carries the bloodline of the Tofona family, one of the four pillar families of the Elgon house. She's a total genius, who mastered all variations of the Great Thunder Sword, the Tofona legacy, since she was only 7. Just like Lord Banjo's other highly talented children." After he finishes, Zeke raises his hand blankly. "My bad. The only thing I got was that she's the clan head's daughter." Genesir screams in frustration again. Wide, Zeke explains that everything is new to him. The blue-haired bull holds his head in despair. "How can this be?" "Don't ask me." Zeke then tries to comfort him. "But not knowing makes it even more interesting, doesn't it?" He grins and exclaims, "It's super exciting." Despite Zeke's reaction, Genesir is still worried. "No matter how strong you are, Lord Z, facing Lady Licca is a massive disadvantage. Why did you accept the challenge?" He strokes his chin and replies, "Well, when someone challenges me, I never back down." Right after saying that, Zeke looks across the field. "Looks like she's already here." Licca stabs her sword into the ground, with an angry face and burning intensity. The small talk ends here. Licca leans on her sword and shouts, "Are you done chatting?" Janisir trembles in fear. Zeke stands nearby and smiles, ready. Everything is all set. Janisir runs off, all screaming. Just please, be careful. Zeke remains calm and asks Lika, be careful? That depends on you. Why are you so determined to challenge me? She replies confidently, because I want to be clan head. To do that, I must make you submit and join my side. Zeke asks flatly, what do you mean? Thinking, what does this have to do with me? Lika's face darkens. Wait. Do you really know nothing about the current state of your clan? Is it because you're a bastard? He hesitates. Well, I might know something. If you just ask me directly. Lika immediately explains. Listen clearly, including you and me. There are 5 candidates for the next patriarch. Everyone, except you, is already allied with one of the 4 Elgon branches. Thinking of each person's strength and background, she continues, which branch the next patriarch comes from is extremely important. That's why all of us are here at the Dragon Den. To represent our branches and compete with each other. I need more power to face my older brothers. Zeke frowns, thinking, so, there's a conflict between the 4 clan branches? This is complicated. I'm not sure I get it. Then he says, got it. Lika draws her sword while speaking. Therefore, has a candidate for the next clan head. I need to solidify my resources even more. She declares, that's why she's jumping in. Zeke looks up, alert. Lika raises her sword and lunges at him. She screams, right here, I will take you down. Lika slashes straight down, but Zeke nimbly dodges to the side. He tilts his head to evade Lika's strike. She screamed in rage that she would not let him get away. A student cried out in shock at his incredible speed. The guy standing next to him remarked, she handles that massive greatsword with such ease. Lika continued her relentless pursuit of Z. The students watching the battle began to gossip intensely. Her control ability, her power output is incredibly precise, and her attacks are getting faster by the second. So it turns out, this is the true power of a branch family heir, the overwhelming strength of those from the main clan. It is only a matter of time before this match reaches its climax. Lika grit her teeth and wondered, how is this happening as Zeke dodges every swing of her sword? Then he nimbly slipped behind her and smirked, taunting her with a wide grin. I cannot even land a single blow. Jianzher's eyes widened in awe at the display on the field. Zeke looked at her and muttered his assessment. I have never seen this kind of martial art before. And with this velocity, it is not something you would expect from someone at the 1-star rank. Lika roared in fury. Shut your mouth and focus on the fight. Zeke clenched his fists and replied that he was focused, and that is exactly why. Lika froze and looked at him in dazed confusion. Zeke had already driven a punch straight into her stomach. He spoke coldly. I can counterattack like this. Lika coughed in pain as she leaned on her sword. Clutching her midsection, the students outside were in a total uproar. No way. Every single attack from Lady Lika actually missed. Who the heck is that guy? Lika looked up and grit her teeth in questioning. Why did none of my attacks manage to hit you? Against a 1-star like you, I should have been vastly superior in speed. I was supposed to be much faster than you. Zeke smiled and answered, you are indeed much faster than any 1-star I have ever faced. He glanced at her and added, but you are still only at the 1-star level. Lika angrily questioned him. Are you not a 1-star as well? You should not be able to keep up with my movements. Zeke gave a faint smile and said it was simple. He observed her body and spoke. Your breathing, movements, eyes, and muscle tension. Zeke explained that just by observing those things, one can read almost every move you make. The rest is simply down to experience. At this point, Lika forced herself to stand up. She swung her sword at him and yelled, that is ridiculous. He leaned back effortlessly, dodging Lika's desperate attack. He said I already told you as he planted his hands on the ground and delivered a powerful kick to Lika. She grit her teeth in rage. Zeke clenched his fist, aiming at her while saying, I can read your every move. Lika was sent flying by Zeke's punch, crashing hard into the wall. Zeke frowned in silence. A student called out for Lady Lika. The surrounding crowd whispered in shock. No way. did she actually just lose? Lady Laika has been defeated. Jiang Deso ran over and exclaimed, Lord Zeke, that was incredible. You actually defeated Lady Laika. Zeke coldly countered that it was not over yet. As the dust slowly cleared, Laika stomped her foot. Zeke smiled and commented. She concentrated her entire power source into her core to block my strike. She is not ordinary at all, as Laika gasped for air, clutching her stomach. Jian Jiso panicked and advised Lady Laika. That is enough. Zeke interrupted him. Jian Jiso, get back. I will not be responsible if you get caught in the crossfire. A faint aura began to radiate from Laika. He noted that she had shown signs earlier. But has she already reached the 2-star rank? Laika wiped the blood from her face. Slowly walking back onto the stage, the students around them cried out in amazement. Hey, is not that? Yes, it is. There is no mistake. That is the mark of a 2-star, a white radiance. Zeke thought to himself, the 2-star state, where one can project their power source outside of their body to use martial techniques that released power, is known as an aura. Laika fixed her hair and said thanks. Thanks to you, I reached 2-star and now. She glared intensely at Zeke. Laika swung her sword and shouted, you have no chance of winning anymore. Zeke dodged her attack and laughed out loud. That was fast, as Laika slashed at him again. Zeke feigned a remark about being surprised. Suddenly, a small cut appeared on his cheek. Zeke was secretly shocked at what just happened. He touched the wound and pondered. I am certain I dodged that, as Laika approached. Do you see it now? Laika's whole body radiated a pale white energy. She spoke as she advanced. This is what I am capable of. Laika raised her sword to her chest and continued. Now that I have obtained the 2-star aura. A series of golden lightning bolts appeared around her. Laika declared, I will show you the true lightning sword technique. Zeke stood still and muttered, so I finally get to see a technique that I have never witnessed before. He laughed and said it was fantastic. In an instant, a bright light flashed. Great lightning sword technique. The lightning radiance surged from Zeke's entire body. Electric sparks continuously crackled in front of him. Wait, what is this? He asked with a smile. Do you mean you can actually control lightning? That is just beyond ridiculous. Laika immediately raised her sword high and shouted, to someone who talks like that. She slammed the sword directly into the ground. Bolts of lightning erupted and shot straight up. Zeke quickly leaped high into the air. You seem to be enjoying yourself quite a bit. Lightning web, as he looked toward Laika with a smile. It is worlds apart from before. These sparks are quite troublesome. Even for me right now. The onlookers were amazed by the spectacle. What kind of battle is this? Can everything really change this much just by advancing a single rank? Jianjao's face was filled with terror, watching Lord Zeke with deep concern. On this side, Z was still analyzing the opponent's weapon and calculating. Now, the basic movements are actually quite simple. She has not changed much compared to earlier. But he looked straight into her sharp eyes. The moment she reached 2-star and gained her aura, the power of the great lightning sword erupted violently. I thought she was just faster than before. But now she is even faster than that. Furthermore, that lightning is mysterious. Zeke smiled and charged forward. Being able to shroud a person in thunder like this, I could counterattack right now. But he could not help but hesitate internally, watching Laika's sword strikes. I am truly curious about what this power really is. She also smiled with pure triumph. You can still smile in a situation like this. You still look very relaxed, don't you? If that is the case, Laika quickly delivered a slash. I will kick that smile right off your face. Then her footsteps suddenly accelerated. Laika immediately used her move, lightning shift. He dodged to the side, evaluating the technique. It is like a pillar of lightning. Then an explosion occurred in the distance. Debris flew everywhere. Jian So, seeing that, quickly jumped down from the wall. In worry, Lord Zeke, as the people behind him shouted, Hey, wait. At this moment, Zeke could still stand straight, still wearing that same smile. To Laika, it felt like a provocation, so she quickly unleashed the next lightning radiance. He was hit so hard that he had to drop one knee to the ground to brace himself. On the other side, Jiangers also ran over at the same time. Lady Laika, please stop. If you keep going like this, then why? Her voice turned mocking. Is he not still standing firm? Lightning surged across Laika's entire body. Do you not think that stopping right now would be an insult to him? Deeply worried, he turned to Zeke and called out, Lord Zeke, please surrender, while she also gave him a reminder. Actually, I think he is right. You are already in terrible shape, so listen up. If you surrender and serve under me, I will end this right here. Zeke lowered his head and smiled in silence, offering no reply. Seeing this, Laika spoke with amusement. You still possess the pride of an El Hygan. I see. Very well then, I shall finish you with my full power. She then raised her sword high. Fierce bolts of lightning struck down. Great sword art, first secret, heavenly thunder. That lightning slammed directly into Zeke's body, forming a massive pillar of light. The shock was so intense it left his mind blank. The crackling sound of electricity echoed. Jian Jiso reached out in terror, crying in worry. Lord Zeke. Zeke immediately collapsed onto the ground. Completely motionless, Laika slammed her sword into the ground roughly. She turned away, showing no further interest. A pity, but the match ends here. Right then, a voice suddenly rang out. I finally understand. A pillar of light erupted from behind Laika. She spun around in utter shock. How is this possible? How do you have a lightning aura? Zeke stood up with a grin, letting out a soft exclamation. So this is what they call a lightning aura. He replied with a playful hesitation. You are asking how? Zeke crossed his arms and answered quite seriously. I am not really sure myself. Laika stood there, completely dumbfounded. He continued cheerfully. I intentionally took your attacks, just to study this power. But, somehow, I found I could use it too. Hearing this, she could only repeat his words. You can use it, that should be impossible. Zeke thought to himself. While enduring those mysterious lightning strikes, I was constantly utilizing a breathing technique, the Dragon King's breath, recalling how Laika's body was covered in lightning. And then, what happened next? The Dragon King's breath reacted to her lightning aura. Sparks began to flicker across Zeke's hands, and electricity started to build up inside my body. He smiled while wiping dirt from his face. Before I even realized it, I was able to manipulate that energy. The exact principle is unclear, but I must have a very unique constitution. No, wait. Zeke looked straight at Laika and continued. Considering this great sword art is your family's inherited martial art, should I assume your entire clan has a special constitution? He walked quickly toward her, theorizing that the power source itself could be based on lightning properties. Exactly. This has been an excellent training session. Zeke's hands sparked with fresh electricity. Furthermore, he smiled and clenched his fist. His whole body radiated a powerful lightning field. Thanks to you, I have also reached the 2-star rank. The match is not. Zeke's eyes darted quickly in one direction. At that moment, Laika launched a surprise sword strike at him. Zeke smiled and looked up, finishing his sentence. Then, bolts of lightning flashed brilliantly. He lunged forward with incredible speed. After utilizing his new power, Zeke could not help but exclaim, this is it. He mentally analyzed the flow of this power. Now that the power source has surged, it affects every nerve and strengthens the entire body. What an incredible constitution. All of my senses have been heightened. Zeke whispered softly to himself. I need to get used to this a bit more. Jianzhi stood there, still in a daze. A battle between clan leader candidates. I can barely keep up even just by watching. Am I imagining all of this? The two of them clashed once again. Zeke easily evaded every attack. He thought in amazement. Lady Laika's lightning-fast slashes can no longer even land a hit. Laika lost her cool and barked in anger. Are you mocking me right now? He smiled calmly and said, I am not teasing you at all. Zeke then rushed in and delivered a direct strike against her sword. I truly consider you a formidable opponent. Laika, feeling its immense power, she gripped her sword and retreated. He stretched his wrists to warm up while laughing. Right. Is this where the gap lies? It is time to end this match. It has been quite a while now. How about I create a new move? On the other side, she asked in utter bewilderment. A new move, Zeke explained. Yes, the first form, no. Let us call it a secret art. Laika's expression crumbled into sheer panic. Terror filled her heart. A new move. So he really did receive training in a secret martial art from some branch of the clan. He can just create a move that easily. I truly cannot understand this guy. Suddenly he appeared right in front of her face, smiling, mind and body. Laika let out a startled cry. This is bad. Before she could dodge, Zeke's hand pressed firmly against her chest. Dragon ruined secret art. He used his full strength to unleash the Thunder Claw. The girl was blasted by an electric surge, dropping to both knees on the ground. A voice announced as Geongers watched in disbelief. The match is over. Zeke looked down at Laika with a smile. That was truly an interesting fight. She struggled to stand, still in denial. Impossible, I lost. Laika grit her teeth, unable to accept the outcome. I must become the clan leader. She looked at the sky with a sorrowful gaze. I have to defeat my brothers. Images of the men who looked down on her flashed before her eyes. I have to be the leader. I absolutely cannot afford to lose. Right then, Zeke spoke up. That was wonderful. You are truly strong. Laika was startled as he leaned in to add. I learned some truly fascinating things today. This has been a very meaningful time. Zeke extended his hand toward her. He asked with a cheerful smile. It would be boring if this was the only time we sparred. Let's do this again sometime, Laika. Laika blushed slightly and looked up with emotion. Zeke reached out to her and said warmly, I am really looking forward to our next match. She shook his hand and replied with a smile. How could I possibly compare to you? I lost. A few hours later, inside the rift, a horde of monsters appeared. A man was surrounded by the beastly crowd. Banjo calmly watched them rush toward him. He frowned as his eyes flashed. A wave of killing intent surged forth. Behind him, the silhouette of a roaring dragon appeared. Banjo muttered Dragon Majesty. He drew his sword and charged at the monsters. Banjo delivered a crescent-shaped slash. He thought to himself, Dragon Chi Destruction Art, First Form. Origin. The sword energy spread, annihilating the monster horde. Banjo then sheathed his sword. The soldier standing behind immediately moved into cleanup. The rift gate slowly opened. Banjo walked calmly toward the exit. A soldier bowed to deliver a report. Lord Boehner, I have something to report. Boehner asked what it was. The soldier said Lady Laika has reached 2-star rank. Boehner stopped in his tracks upon hearing this. He glanced at the soldier and asked in a low voice. The soldier replied nervously. Reaching 2-star at such an age is considered quite a remarkable achievement. With Lady Laika's raw talent, by the time she graduates from the Dragon Lair, she might reach the 4th or no. She could even potentially reach the 5-star rank. Banjo coldly declared that talent is irrelevant. Report to me only when she actually becomes useful. If you came here just to report such trivial garbage, then get the hell out. The soldier hesitated before speaking again. But, sir, Lady Laika has been defeated. He asked in genuine surprise. Did she challenge one of the older heirs? The soldier replied, No sir, the one who defeated Lady Laika is a child of the same age. His name is Zeke. Banjo muttered in astonishment. Zeke, that woman's child. He hesitated then added that it made sense. That woman possessed God-gifted martial skills. But Banjo looked at the soldier and questioned. Even so, she died the moment that Bo was born. Did she not? Who could have taught him the skills to take down a 2-star? The soldier thought of Zeke and answered, Well, about that. Young Master Zeke defeated Lady Laika without being taught by anyone at all, and he reached the 2-star rank entirely on his own. Banjo ordered IC. In that case, let the first training phase begin. The soldier asked in shock. I mean no disrespect, but is it not far too early? They have only been in formal combat training for a month, and most of the children have not even reached 1-star yet. Banjo spoke coldly. Whether they have learned to fight or not. Death treats everyone with the same indifference, and only the strong shall survive. Those who cannot even pass the very first trial, no matter how many stars they have, he proclaimed, are unworthy of being called an El Hygan. The soldier bowed in obedience to his command. Banjo spoke abruptly, Report this back to Forza. He asked in confusion, Forza, sir, Banjo replied yes. The fact that the boy defeated Laika through his own effort alone is quite intriguing, he continued as he walked back into the rift. Forza will be tasked with overseeing the content, as well as the entire procedure. Tell her to keep a very close watch. Throughout the entire trial, the soldier immediately acknowledged the order. Banjo smirked and muttered, "Zeke, how truly interesting." The following day at the training grounds, the students were training like madmen. Janessa was also pushing himself to improve. As for Zeke, he loaded weights and stones onto his back, thinking, Dragon Mark combat style, today's plan. Double weights, one large rock, and two medium ones for the stance. Zeke recalled that much like the Dragon Breath, this was a technique created by the 15th Clan Master. Though it is called a combat style, it is essentially a body reinforcement technique, designed so perfectly that even a child could easily master it. Jian Jiso walked over and asked, Lord Zeke, are you not planning to train? He immediately replied, what are you talking about? I am training right now. He hesitated. No. I did not mean physical training. I meant training in the Dragon Mark combat style. Zeke answered calmly. I have already learned it. He shouted in disbelief. What? You just saw it moments ago. And you have mastered it already. He closed his eyes and said, Of course. More importantly, Jian Jiso, your power flow is going in the completely wrong direction. Jian Jiso froze. Zeke dropped the stones and weights to the ground and spoke. Here, he raised his hand and pointed at him. Look, turn your body around. Jian Jiso wondered if he had just been floating. He muttered yes as a surge of energy suddenly lit up. Zeke placed his hand on Jian's shoulder and funneled energy into his body. Once finished, he said this is the correct flow. Jian Jiso said in awe, Thank you very much. Jian Jiso looked at him and spoke seriously, But you really have mastered it. Just as expected of Lord Zeke. He barked back, Are you doubting me? What kind of person are you anyway? Jianzhers replied in a fluster, Sorry, I did not mean it that way. This is the first time I have been taught by anyone besides my father, so I am always feeling desperate. He recalled the clash between Zeke and Laika and continued, But Lord Zeke, you already have martial arts strong enough to defeat Lady Laika, so I thought the Dragon Mark combat style might be simple and boring to you. Zeke crossed his arms and said, That is not true at all. I am genuinely impressed by the stability of the Dragon Mark combat style. He thought to himself, After all, my technique, the Dragon Ruin, was not suitable for my son. They found it far too complex and difficult. Dick is deep in thought. The Dragon Ruin combat style is complex and brutal, but its overwhelming power is second to none. It all begins with the first form, then the second, the third, and the fourth. He envisions an ancient tree and a silver dragon. Jake recalls something else. There is a secret technique born from the battle with Laika, and then there is the final form, a form of such power, absolute destruction, that could slay a divine dragon. I am also curious about the other dragon skills. Perhaps those martial arts have been modified as well. Dick feels a quiet jolt. He is truly excited. Then he smiles and says, Anyway, I have finished learning the Dragon Seal combat style, so I am just training my body as usual. Everyone will learn at their own pace. Johnser replies, I see. Suddenly, Johnser shouts out loud, Master Dick, I beg of you, please train me. I want you to guide me like you did before. Dick looks at him with wide eyes as he continues. I know it is an embarrassing request, but Johnser yells. I want to get stronger, even if just a little. Jake laughs and says, I do not mind. He asks in confusion, so it is okay. Really? Jake replies. Why the shock? You were the one who asked. He continues. I am not lying. Besides, you deserve it. At that moment, Laika approaches. She speaks up shyly, but in that case, I also want you to train me. Johnser mumbles in astonishment. Lady Laika too? Laika asks with a serious face, Is there a problem? Laika explains, To be honest, I thought no one my age could ever defeat me, because I am a candidate for the next clan leader. But, in yesterday's battle, you completely overwhelmed me, and somehow, you deployed the lightning aura, and used it better than I could. She shouts out in embarrassment. My pride has been completely shattered by you. Dick sighs. Is that my fault? Johnser smiles awkwardly beside him. Well, Laika looks at him with determination and says, "But I want to become even stronger. Strong enough to defeat my brothers and you as well. So please, train me too." She asks, "Is that all right?" Jake stays silent, lost in thought. Laika looks disappointed. "Is it a no? I understand. Since you are also a potential successor. Training with your own rival must not be acceptable." Jake stands still, thinking, without a word. Seeing this, she quietly accepts it. Thinking back, it is true that he is also a candidate for the succession. Even if he is an illegitimate child, he is still the son of the clan leader. After a moment, he finally speaks. "I do not mind, but is your body really okay? That wound should have kept you immobilized for an entire month." Laika nods and explains, "I used a recovery potion, so there is no problem at all. You worry about the strangest things." Hearing that, Dick leans into Johnson's ear and whispers, "I get it. That bizarre medicine worked like a miracle drug." He replies, "If you mean the vial from the entrance exam, that one was not nearly that effective." Johnson points at her and asserts, "With Lady Laika's personality, she definitely used the high-grade stuff this time." He could not help but marvel, "What a wonderful era we live in." Laika flushes. What is that supposed to mean? If not for the recovery potion, I really would not have been able to move for that whole month. But more importantly, are you really going to train me? You must need time for your own training too. Dick shrugs with a bright smile. Of course, I would never turn down an ambitious young person. She looks blankly, a question mark over her head. Young person? Aren't you young yourself? Even Johnson has his doubts. We are the same age. He whistles nonchalantly. Well, that is true. To be sure, Dick asks again, "Are you certain, Laika?" "I am the one who beat you, remember." She is determined. "It does not matter. I do not have the right to be picky." Laika clenches her fist, her eyes full of resolve. Becoming stronger means becoming the clan leader. "I will do whatever it takes." Dick cannot help but wonder. Before, when you challenged me, you also mentioned the clan leader position. Right, why are you so obsessed with becoming the leader? She hesitates for a moment. Well, the reason is obvious, Laika explains slowly. If I do not become the leader, marriage is the only future left for me. A political marriage. If I am lucky, I will be the wife of some obnoxious cousin, or someone like that. Otherwise, we are forced to be someone's concubine. Hearing this, his face darkens. What? She shrugs calmly, as if it were a given. That is right. Maintaining the bloodline of ally or gold is that important, especially for the 4 great clans. Surely you know this already. Our primordial essence is unique, which means it can be utilized in countless ways. Dick suddenly erupts in a flame of anger. Run away, those scumbags. Thinking about them makes me sick to my stomach. Johnson trembles beside him at the sight. He clenches his fist in rage and curses. What do you think people are, right now? When they do things like that, those damn rotten traditions, I will destroy them all. In the heat of the moment, the instructor's voice booms with authority. Listen up, Laika, not knowing what just happened, asks, "What is going on?" Dick is annoyed. Perfect timing. At a crucial moment like this, Johnson looks like he is about to cry from the fright. The 3 of them look toward the instructor, who just called for the assembly. He announces loudly, "Starting today, a new instructor will be joining us." Despite a busy schedule, he has personally come to guide all of you. Be grateful. That person is, while everyone is focused on listening, a girl with vibrant red hair unexpectedly walks up next to Laika. She gently strokes a strand of her hair and asks, "You must be Lady Laika, right?" Laika flinches and turns to look. The instant their eyes meet, she recoils backward in a split second. Johnson is startled and quickly hugs Dick tight. The red-haired girl feigns surprise. "Oh my." She winks and praises. "What impressive reflexes. And your spiritual energy is not bad either." Dick, being squeezed by Johnson, thinks to himself, "I did not sense any presence from her at all." Johnson asks, while shaking, "Oh goodness, who on earth is this person?" The dragon instructor reaches out to introduce her. Before he can finish, the person beside him cuts in, still as quick as ever. I see, Lady Ferreira. She waves cheerfully. Pleasure to meet everyone. Ferreira glances at Dick, probing. And you must be Dick, right? He replies without hesitation. That is me. She is surprised. You do not seem shocked at all. He answers calmly. Because, my lady, there is nothing to be shocked about. But, Ferreira sees something that makes her brow furrow. Dick smirks. His pupils glow. It seems this lady possesses rather interesting martial soul. Ferreira thinks to herself with newfound interest. So that is it. No wonder the clan leader is keeping an eye on him. Opposite her, Dick rubs his chin in admiration. Her stealth technique is truly impressive. But what is even more special is the martial arts she has mastered. He is now full of curiosity, the flow of primordial energy. Most of her essence is concentrated in her lower body. But this kind of flow, I have never seen anything like it before. This must be the reason why her footsteps make no sound at all. Even while wearing boots like those. What kind of technique is this? Truly fascinating. Ferreira turns and walks back toward the instructors. Her tone becomes more serious. Yet a friendly smile remains on her lips. As you have just been informed, from today on, I will be your instructor. Let us work hard together. The other students are buzzing with excitement. Wait, isn't that the wine goddess Ferreira? Heavens, it is her in the flesh. This is amazing. The dragon instructor speaks in a stern voice. Lady Ferreira here has reached the 6-star rank. She is a key member of the Black Dragon Guard. Everyone, learn everything you possibly can from her. Hearing that, a group of students huddles up to whisper. The Black Dragon Guard is the personal guard of the clan leader, right? Why would someone of her stature suddenly appear here? One child boldly raises a hand. Will you really be training us, Lady Ferreira? She smiles brightly. Of course. Before the students can celebrate. Ferreira adds. But, she emphasizes, only if you pass my test. This feels like a bolt of lightning to the group. They look utterly devastated. A test so suddenly? Ferreira pulls out a spirit crystal and encourages them. Don't worry, it is quite easy. You just need to keep this crystal intact and survive in the Venom Dragon Mountain for 1 month. Johnser's jaw drops. Venom Dragon Mountain? Jake takes note. That name sounds familiar. Speaking of Venom Dragon Mountain, it is a land crawling with highly toxic creatures. A place where even touching a blade of grass that looks normal could be fatal. It is safe to say, this is truly a death trap. He recalls, in my past life, I used to train there often. And back then, Dick had curiously tasted some of the fruits, which gave him goosebumps. The taste was absolutely horrid. He wonders a bit. But for these kids, isn't this a bit early? Ferreira warns them. If your crystal breaks, or gets lost during the challenge, you will be disqualified immediately. A trembling child raises a hand. And what if we fail? What will happen then? She smiles. Naturally, you will be expelled, provided you survive. Ferreira explains. Being poisoned can be easily handled by using the dragon breath technique correctly. As long as you keep your crystal intact, everything will be fine. Simple, right? Laika speaks up, but instructor. There are monsters there as well. She acts surprised. Oh my. Then just defeat them. Ferreira says it as if it were the most obvious thing. And she doesn't forget to remind them. Otherwise, you won't even have food. And you will die before the test ends. The young students are in a state of panic. What? Can the dragon slaying arts actually handle creatures like that? Ferreira smiles again, holding up 5 fingers. You still have 5 days before the real challenge begins. In those 5 days, each of you will choose a weapon from the core martial arts of the clan and start training. She points to the table behind her. If you figure out how to deal with the monsters, then survival will be much easier, won't it? But if you cannot master the technique within 5 days, Ferreira's voice drops. If you cannot master the technique in the 5 days before the exam, then I will not be responsible for anything that happens afterward. Another person voices their concern. If things take a turn for the worse, you will help us. Right, she waves her hand. Oh please. Furira is cold, radiating the aura of a true instructor. Goodness, this is the great clan. A place where the weak are culled, and only the strong can survive. If you cannot fight back against the monsters, then such an end is only natural, is it not? If you cannot even pass a simple test like this, then you might as well stay in bed and let the poison and monsters take you. Hearing this, the children break into a cold sweat. The three of them, including Dick, each have a different expression. He finds it hard to understand. This place is far different from the clan I once knew. In Dick's mind, an imaginary image from the past suddenly flashes back when he was Jiffizer, holding his tiny son, and excitedly boasting, "Father, look, this is your grandson. Isn't he adorable?" But now, he stands frozen in confusion. I am not sure, but what is with that? Furira claps her hands to make an announcement. That is enough talk. Now, I will distribute the martial manuals for each type of weapon. Come and take the manual for the weapon you desire. One by one they choose. Everyone looks bewildered. What are you picking? Which one should I choose? Johnson bites his finger, trembling. What should I do? What should I pick? Dick steps up and advises. Johnson, you should choose the spear. You used it during the entrance exam, didn't you? He suddenly sighs in relief. You are right. Thank you so much. To one side, Leica is still hesitating, even though there is a Thunder Spirit Greatsword style, even if it is only the basic level. Seeing this, he stops her. Wait, Leica. Dick advises, you should choose the sword style. She is surprised. Me? Why? He turns to walk away, waving his hand as he explains. It will make up for what you are lacking. Though she doesn't fully understand, Leica accepts. If you say so, then I guess I will choose this one. After everyone has made their choice, they gather again. Have you all received your manuals? Then for the next 5 days, until the challenge starts, Furira reminds them, if you want to live, train as if your life depends on it. Because it does. Otherwise, just go ahead and die. Everyone turns pale with fear upon hearing that. Only Dick remains indifferent. She suddenly remembers. Oh right, one more thing. The upperclassmen from the higher ranks will also try to seize your crystals. Johnson is horrified while he is actually glad. Now that is more like it. Furira explains. The seniors from 10 years ago will be joining the challenge and their mission is to take your crystals. But since there are many more of you, and Venom Dragon Mountain is vast, you might not need to worry about running into each other. Though, they will definitely be hunting you. So try your best. Having said that, she waves her handkerchief and leaves. Johnson turns white, clutching his head. What? Not just monsters, but even upperclassmen will be attacking us. Leica frowns. The 10-year students are all at least 2-star rank. Even I couldn't hold them off if they ambushed me all at once. In that case, most of the others likely won't survive. Dick just calmly stretches. True, she shouts in frustration. Hey, you. He then suggests, if you cannot manage alone, then form a small group of 2 or 3. Cooperating to hunt monsters isn't forbidden. Isn't it? The more, the merrier? Hearing that, Leica nods. That makes sense. Johnson asks in confusion, Master Dick, what will you do? He smiles with pure excitement. Me? Naturally. I am going to enjoy this challenge alone. Johnson's eyes widen. Enjoy? Leica says worriedly. But, even if it is just you, no, maybe you really can pull it off. Dick walks off cheerfully. Let us go. Before we start training, let us go find something to eat. She is speechless. Yeah, you really are a strange one. Johnson agrees. Yeah, sometimes that is true. 5 days later, as the sun peaks over the mountain range, the first rays of light pierce through the canopy, waking the slumbering forest. The students have all gathered. Everyone is tense for the upcoming test. Furira announces, all right, it is a perfect day for an exam. Quite a crowd, shall we begin? At the gathering point where tents are pitched, Johnson grips his spear tightly. He whispers to Leica with a hint of fear. The day of the exam is finally here. Leica, also caught between fear and anxiety, just utters a simple, yeah, watching the other students working hard, some pitching tents, others carrying supplies. Johnson goes on a long, nervous rant. Even though Master Dick said so. Is it really okay for me to go with Lady Leica? After all, in this class, there are many from much more legitimate noble bloodlines than mine. I am just a commoner. And I have not even earned a single star yet. Despite pouring his heart out to Leica, the more he thinks about it, the more he trembles with fear. Just then, a blonde beau and a blue-haired girl approached from behind Johnson. Having overheard all of his worries, the blue-haired girl is the first to offer comfort. We are all in the same boat. Out of natural reflex, Johnson turns around to look. Seeing the two of them, his eyes well up with tears as he calls out happily, "Celine, Raymond." Celine looks at Leica beside him, both happy and shy. She remarks, "I still cannot believe a commoner like me gets to go with Lady Leica." Raymond says nothing, but he nods in agreement with Celine's words. Leica looks at Johnson, Celine, and Raymond. She encourages them, saying, "Noble or commoner, it does not matter. I am going with you all because I value your skills." Hearing that, Johnson grips his spear tightly. He says briefly, "I understand." His voice is dead serious as he promises, "I will do my absolute best. I will not let myself become a burden to any of you." Infected by Johnson's burning resolve, Raymond also vows, "I will work hard to live up to my lady's expectations." Leica smiles and praises the three of them. "Good, I am counting on you." Then she turns back to ask Dick, "But, are you really going alone, Dick?" Dick replies with bold confidence, "Of course, I cannot wait any longer." Celine and Raymond have heard rumors about Dick's background. Celine looks at him with admiration and sighs. "Incredible, I have been a nervous wreck this whole time." Beside her, Raymond remarks with awe, "So this is what it feels like to have royal blood." Hearing Raymond's words, Leica speaks up bluntly, "Do not lump me in with him. I am shaking over here too." Dick is a bit taken aback. He asks Leica with terrifying innocence, "You are scared? What is there to worry about? Aren't you, Leica, and all the top students, all gathered right here?" Seeing him speak of this, as if it were no big deal, Celine, Raymond, and Johnson are left speechless and helpless, sharing the exact same thought. There are actually plenty of reasons to worry. Master Dick just does not give a damn. Leica teases him again. "So you think they are capable too?" Dick smirks but answers seriously, "Of course." Looking at Raymond and Celine, whom Leica chose, he truly admires her judgment. She has successfully gathered the most promising students in the class. Leica has a pretty good eye for talent. Thinking that, he says firmly, "Their defensive skills and offensive powers are excellent. This test will be a breeze for you." Though they are used to Dick's calm attitude, Johnson in this very moment cannot help but remark dryly, "That is not it. Master Dick is just always this confident." Just then, Ferreira and the other instructors arrive. She asks nonchalantly, "All right everyone, is everyone here?" Then she scans the students and comments, "Oh my. So you kids decided to team up. Not a bad choice. Since some of you surely have not mastered weapon arts yet." Having just heard Ferreira's voice, all the students turned round at once, intently listening to her orders. After the greetings, she held up her crystal to illustrate and asked, "Let's get started right away. Everyone has their crystal already, right?" She raised the crystal in her hand, then announced the rules of the exam. "Your mission is to survive for a whole month at Mount Venom Dragon, and simultaneously protect this crystal as long as the test ends. And the crystal in your hand remains intact. The exam is over. You will have completed your part, and remember, all these crystals are exactly the same." Hearing that, every single student became tense. After some frantic whispering, standing there in the crowd, in contrast to everyone else's fear, Reek stood silent and deep in thought, but looking at the loopholes in the rules, he came up with a way to bypass them in his head. If you lose your crystal, just go steal another one. At this moment, Veradiza continued explaining the exam format. Once you head up the mountain and find a hiding spot, the upperclassmen will start trying to take your crystals. While she was speaking, two boys were confidently bragging to each other. One asked, "Hey, Most of them probably haven't even reached 1 star yet, right? The other reply, this will be easy as pie. Hearing about that tough challenge, the students fell into another wave of shock and fear. Verodiza finished her speech and shouted, "Now then, the rules are explained," and then she gave the signal. The test begins. As soon as she finished, all students dashed up the mountain. Liquor ran with the crowd, not forgetting to look back and wish Reek luck. "Reek, you better make it out alive." Reek grunted in response and sincerely said, "Same to you guys." Lika shouted back to call Janzer, Celine and Raymond. "Let's move out, everyone." The 3 of them replied in unison and rushed after her. Meanwhile, Reek was still leisurely standing by Verodiza, nonchalantly waving goodbye to them. "Be careful now." Seeing this, Verodiza asked, confused, "Aren't you supposed to be going too?" Reminded by her, Reek muttered to himself, "Oh right, I got a bit distracted." Verodiza suspiciously asked again, "Distracted? Aren't you worried at all?" Reek brushed it off and replied calmly, "We have nothing to worry about." "Well then, excuse me, instructor." With that, he leisurely set off. Verodiza stared blankly after him and remarked, "What a strange kid." Night fell and stars sparkled above. At the foot of the mountain, all the instructors stood there, keeping watch without rest. One anxiously wondered, "They'll be okay, right?" Hearing that, Verodiza coldly asked Instructor Longbat, "What about it?" He replied seriously, "This test might still be a bit too early for the new students." Another instructor nearby chimed in with a reason. "That's true, although they've grasped the basics. Only a few of them have reached a star rank, and their combat experience is still lacking." That person then gave a forced smile and asked, "I wonder how many of them will pass?" Verodiza calmly reassured them not to worry. She analyzed, Mount Venom Dragon has countless toxic creatures, but the quantity and quality of the monsters are not a major concern. Most are only between 1 star and 2 star. Yes, and as you can see, those kids can basically handle it. The other 2 instructors had no further questions. Instructor Long spoke in a low, brief voice. "Yes, understood." Verodiza smiled mysteriously and whispered a scheme. "However, I'll still release that thing at the end." Instructor Long caught a glimpse of her voice, but didn't quite hear what she said. He hesitantly asked again, "Pardon me, I didn't quite catch what you said." Verodiza changed her expression and replied with a smile, "It was nothing." At this time, she commanded the elite upperclassmen who were chosen, "All right, it's time, you guys head out too." Taking her order, they immediately entered a relentless hunting mode and ran up the mountain. Verodiza tucked a strand of hair blowing in the wind and muttered indifferently, "Let's see how many will survive. I'm really looking forward to it." The upperclassmen moved through the dark forest, swiftly rushing up the mountain slopes. Suddenly, one of them spotted someone. He whispered, "Hey, look at that guy." It turned out to be Reek, casually resting by a tree. The bull whispered excitedly, "Found one already." Then another guy noticed Reek. He mocked him with disdain. "After all this time, he's still hanging around a place like this. Is he an idiot?" The first guy who spotted him quickly found a bush to hide in, then aimed his bow at Reek. The arrow flew toward him like a lightning bolt. Reek calmly dodged to the side. His hand accurately caught the arrow. Reek gently snapped the arrow in his hand. Laughing like a maniac, he shouted, "I've been waiting for you." The 3 were spotted and, shocked by his actions, involuntarily let out a gasp. One asked in confusion, "What is that freak talking about?" Another exclaimed in amazement, "Didn't he just block an arrow with his bare hands?" Reek said nothing more. Dashing toward the 3 of them, he shouted with excitement, "Now, let the game begin." A series of noises echoed from the forest, followed by a monster suddenly bursting out. Celine frowned and fiercely swung her sword. She ruthlessly stabbed the monster's body. Right then, another monster appeared behind Celine. "Celine, behind you." As it attacked, Raymond leaped out and used his shield to save her. Then he frowned and swung his shield, using the shield's edge to crush the monster, sending it to hell. On the other side, Janzer had also just finished off another monster. While everyone was taking a break, someone spoke up to check on them. "Alright, is everyone okay?" Janzer quickly looked up and replied, "Lady Licca." Immediately after that, he was surprised by the trophies beside Licca. The rumors about Lady Licca are true. While we were screaming in panic, "You've already taken down so many." Licca heard this and proudly held up two fingers. "Well, I have reached 2-star after all. This is nothing." But more importantly, since a week after the exam started, you guys have gotten a lot stronger too. Celine and Raymond have reached 1-star status. Celine replied with a slight smile. "It's all thanks to Lady Licca's help." Raymond also said, "Thank you, lady." Janzer stood aside, looking at them with a sad gaze. The two of them reached 1-star already, but I'm still. Celine caught that look and immediately comforted Janzer. "You've gotten much stronger too. You'll reach 1-star soon." Raymond also nodded. "Don't lose your patience." Janzer forced a smile and said, "Thanks, guys." Licca walked over from a distance and unexpectedly praised him. "Taking down a tree frog by yourself is actually quite impressive." She continued to encourage him. "Plus, you trained with Reek to sharpen your spear skills before the exam, so don't worry too much. You'll reach 1-star in no time." Janzer was moved and called out, "Lady Licca." Just then, Licca suddenly looked up at the sky. "Alright, it's getting dark. Let's head back to base." Celine immediately agreed. "Right, it's really dangerous out here at night." Janzer followed her lead. "Let's go." By now, the sun had begun to set into twilight. The sun slowly dipped behind the mountains and forest. As darkness finally descended, a light, thin mist slowly spread through every corner of the woods. The group was currently heading back, carrying their trophies with them. Janzer suddenly called out to Lady Licca. Licca frowned with intense alertness. "What are you doing at our base?" The moment she finished her sentence, a pair of legs stepped out from the forest. Everyone in the group immediately raised their guard and drew weapons. A tall young man with a sword at his hip spoke with a gentle smile. "You finally noticed me, huh?" Licca gripped the hilt behind her back and asked, "You are from the 10th year class, right? Are you here to steal the crystals?" The upperclassman bluntly admitted, "Exactly." Looking at that upperclassman's smiling face, one of the four thought to themselves, "Finally, the upperclassmen have started their attack, and he is a 2-star rank." He suddenly remarked, "It is an obvious part of this test, but I didn't expect this to be Lady Licca's base." Meanwhile, Licca coldly pointed her sword at him. "Then why don't you just turn back? You can't take all of us down by yourself." The upperclassman suddenly changed his expression and countered indifferently, "Who said I was here alone?" Licca turned her head and immediately saw another pair of legs appear. The blonde girl thought with growing concern, 3 2-star ranks right behind us." One of them suddenly spoke up, while drawing his sword. "Even Lady Licca will struggle carrying 3 dead weights. That makes things quite difficult, doesn't it?" Then that man frowned deeply and shouted, "Surrender now." In the next second, that guy did not hesitate, swinging his sword down where Licca was standing. Luckily, she jumped back just in time to dodge. The blonde girl shouted while in midair. Everyone, Celine, in another corner, had already begun clashing with the 2-star youth. Tried to hold on. Raymond on the other side was no exception. He was raising his shield to defend himself. "Until I get back." Janzer gripped his spear with both hands, struggling to hold his ground against the relentless attacks of his opponent. The opponent shouted while attacking nonstop, "Come on, hand over the crystal." In this desperate situation, Janzer's mind drifted. What should we do in a situation like this? At some point in the past, Reek had asked with a blank expression, "What? You're asking for a way to defeat a strong opponent?" Janzer hugged his knees and replied, "Yes, I still don't have any stars yet. So if a powerful enemy appears, I want to know what I should do." Reek rubbed his chin, thought for a bit, then suddenly blurted out, "Just give up." The blue-haired bull was startled. "Wait, what?" He explained further. "It is obvious, isn't it? For someone with 0 stars to fight a 3-star or 4-star rank is absolutely impossible." Janzer couldn't help but exclaim in disbelief. "No way," Reek suddenly continued. Anyway, with a 1-star or 2-star, you can still manage. Janzer looked at him, slightly surprised. Reek then said, "You are worried about the upcoming exam, right? If my memory serves me right, most monsters on Mount Venom Dragon are 2-star. I heard the upperclassmen who will attack us are also mostly 2-star ranks, but, in that case, there is still a way." He suddenly knelt seriously before him, as if waiting for guidance. "What way?" Reek held up the fingers and said, "It is nothing new." Facing Janzer's confused gaze, he smiled and revealed the secret. "Exploit the openings. That is all." "Openings?" Reek nodded in agreement. "Exactly. You can take down a 2-star enemy. Even a starless person like you can turn the tables if you find the opening, even against us." Janzer asked seriously again, "But how do I hit that opening?" He replied instantly with 2 words: "Endure it. Endure and keep enduring." Reek leaned over slightly, his lips curling into a mischievous smirk. "Keep taking the hits until you see the opponent's opening." The blue-haired bull was shocked. He shouted, "What?" Reek asked back nonchalantly, "Why so surprised? You are facing an opponent stronger than you. What do you think someone as weak as you can do?" Janzer suddenly gripped his trousers tightly. "That's true. But, can I really endure it?" Reek immediately corrected him. "It is not about whether you can or not. It is that you must. If you can't do that, defeating a strong enemy is just a fantasy." His words seemed to enlighten the bull. He fell silent for a moment. Reek looked at him and continued advising. "Take an exceptional opponent like Lika, for example. With your current self, you can endure against a 2-star opponent. Don't worry too much." Janzer bowed his head and muttered, "I think so," but Reek bluntly pointed out, "Janzer, you are still quite insecure." Reek stared at him and lectured, "Believe in yourself. That is a key factor in becoming stronger." I know that, but..." Before the blue-haired bull could finish, he pointed right at his face and continued, "Let me give you one more piece of advice." Reek smiled and said, "Don't overthink things." As Janzer watched without blinking, he delivered a philosophical lecture. You don't need to think about finding openings or different types of power. Back in the fight, Janzer gripped his spear, ready to attack at any moment. Just wait patiently for the opening and drive the spear through that opening. That will do it. The blue-haired boy knelt on the ground, stammering and repeating the words. "Thrust straight with the spear," Reek replied. "Exactly. The secret to taking down strong enemies." Back to the present, the opponent fighting Janzer couldn't help but exclaim, "This guy is really stubborn." Meanwhile, he defended while telling himself, "That's right, I'm weaker than this person right now. So I must endure and wait at any cost until the opening appears." Even though his whole body was shaking, Janzer still showed a resilient face, trying to block every strike coming down. That opponent suddenly cursed loudly. "Damn it." Then he jumped up in a pose, ready to attack the blue-haired bull. From above, "Die." Janzer suddenly frowned. With a determined gaze, he gripped the spear and swung it forward. A blue star suddenly appeared in the center of the swirl. In his eyes, Janzer powerfully thrust the spear at that spot. In reality, he had struck the stomach of that 2-star youth, sending the sword in his hand flying. "There it is." Dazed before passing out, he still muttered unwillingly, "No way." Then he completely lost consciousness before a tired, panting Janzer. The star on his chest suddenly glowed brightly. Turning toward Lika, she was currently rushing forward with a frown. "Looks like that side is finished." The upperclassman suddenly cried out in panic. "Impossible, I'm also at 2-star rank." But, as he blocked a strike from Lika, he gritted his teeth and hissed, "Why is there such a huge gap?" While Lika recalled the book with the axe symbol, she thought to herself, "Because I studied axe skills, I have to put more power into my heavy sword. That is why Reek suggested axe skills to me." Lika's body suddenly emitted golden sparks of electricity. "Targeting us was a huge mistake for you." Seeing those electric sparks, the upperclassman turned pale, crying out, "No." In the very next second, she unleashed a high-voltage current, blasting that guy into a total mess. It is over. After he collapsed unconscious on the ground, Lika quickly turned to head back. As soon as she arrived, she anxiously shouted, "Is everyone okay?" Lika suddenly noticed Janzer, beside her, with eyes shining like car headlights. A moment later, all four cheered in pure joy. "We won." Celine happily spoke to Janzer. "Congrats on reaching 2-star, Janzer. You actually did it." Janzer replied emotionally, "Thanks guys. I am so happy." Lika stood by, smiling with relief. Now that everyone has earned their stars, we can hold our own against opponents of the same rank. Then she looked away and muttered, "I wonder how Reek is doing." At that same time, in another part of the forest, noises echoed continuously through the trees in the night. A young man with tied back hair was running for his life, as if escaping from something horrific. He cried while running, "Don't come near me. Stay away. Damn it, what the hell is that guy?" Reek's silhouette, standing over the fallen teammates, suddenly loomed large. What kind of monster is that? A girl. And two students were stumbling and sobbing, running out of the woods. "Help! Stay away from me. They'll swear." A figure was effortlessly dragging someone by the collar. What is wrong with him? Total monster, it was Reek. He was triumphantly holding two people by their collars in his hands. "What is the matter? Is there no one left to play with me?" Reek said nothing, only bursting out in manic laughter. The students ahead fled frantically, without even daring to look back. That guy is seriously insane. Why is an underclassman hunting the upperclassmen? Weren't we supposed to be the hunters? While running, a green-haired beau tripped, hitting his face hard against the ground. He sat up and crawled back in terror. "Crap. My leg is stuck." Reek, with his towering frame, walked over slowly, looking incredibly menacing. "I am bored with this pointless game of tag." Reek flashed a twisted grin, with cold, blank eyes, reaching out his hand as if to hypnotize. "Now, get up and come fight me." The boy's eyes widened in shock. Looking panicked, he seemed to lose consciousness. His eyes rolled back, trembling as he was lifted up by Reek. The boy let out a breath and went limp, looking completely lifeless. Reek looked at him and sighed helplessly. "Oh man." He stood behind, looking at the fainted boy, then yelled at the two ahead, who were still running away angrily. "Seriously? Why are you so cowardly and gutless? Didn't you all start out so aggressive? Don't leave me all alone." Reek lowered his arm, glancing back to assess the situation. "Right, maybe you should observe more closely." Then he stood there alone. Everything around felt surreal. Standing there, I guess. My direction is just fine. Isn't it? Then I'll keep having my fun. Another footstep approached from behind a tree. It was a guard lurking nearby, checking on the situation, with a look of sheer worry and confusion. What on earth is this? He walked deeper into the forest step by step, stepping through bushes and slowly looking around. You can feel my presence? The upperclassmen are quite something after all. Suddenly he stopped and stood there, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. I need to report this immediately. Caught in his sight was the green-haired boy's body lying on the ground. Verodiza emerged from the darkness, appearing with a gentle expression. You've returned. Give me the report. The soldier under her acknowledged the command. One of the three stepped up to announce. 1 week since the test began, about 30% of the 7-year-old class has been eliminated. However, the remaining students are adapting well. The guard stood at attention. Continuing with his assessment, I believe this number won't drop much further for now. Verodiza listened and asked, Is that so? And what about the upperclassmen? That officer hesitated for a moment. While the upperclassmen, the officer slowly glanced back at his two comrades with a weary expression. She urged him further, asking what was wrong and to be clear. After that, he finally decided to speak up to answer her question. Simply put, they are all running away. Verdia felt a bit strange hearing that. Not happy at all, she wondered why they were fleeing. Those upperclassmen? What on earth are they running from? She was filled with curiosity, looking at an officer and asking hesitantly, What is on Mount Dragon? Is there some monster that could make them retreat? The officer answered her seriously. It is that student, sir. This answer left her completely stunned. What did you just say? Young Master Zeke. With his ferocity, he has threatened the other students, sending them scattering. Young Master Zeke is currently attacking the upperclassmen. Initially, the upperclassmen tried to resist, but now they are all tucking tail and running. Among the group of officers, one man suddenly raised his voice loudly. Who exactly is this young master? He even started getting excited, sending the upperclassmen packing. This is something truly unheard of. An officer with a distinct lock of hair suddenly became calm and very serious. I agree, his son and the clan leader as well. On the contrary, I must say that, in their minds, Zeke is someone who looks terrifying. His eyes were burning bright, surrounded by a powerful aura. He is an anomalous case. He has gone far beyond the concept of a genius. In fact, he is more like a monster. Verdia pressed her finger to her cheek, looking away in another direction, recalling his appearance in her mind. I also find him very peculiar. He intentionally chose to act alone, and set off at an unexpectedly leisurely pace. Could it be that from the start, he wasn't the prey, but the hunter? Zeke, at that time, had a bright smile, but his eyes looked anything but innocent. Is that so? Like a monster? Suddenly, a sound echoed from another direction, startling one of the female officers. That sound is. Verdia stood there calmly putting on her coat, not surprised at all. Oh my. Is it finally here? I've been waiting. A muscular man was pushing something heavy toward them. Lady Verdia is here. Where should I place this? She instructed the man to just put it there. Good work. The entire officer squad stood there jaw dropped, jumping in shock. What is this, Lady Verdia? This is... Don't tell me you plan to release this into Mount Dragon? This thing's power level reaches 3 stars. With the current strength of those kids, they won't be able to handle it at all. Verdia didn't take it seriously at all. Her face was still beaming with a bright smile. It will be fine. This thing has been specially adjusted. The officer with the lock of hair stared intently at her. Adjusted how? She still smiled, brushing it off casually. That is right. This creature only attacks those who have reached to stars. Zeke and Lika are the 2 shining stars mentioned. So the ordinary kids won't be majorly affected. A voice suddenly cut in, asking if that was so. But why do this? Verdia calmly reached out her hand and answered firmly. This is an order from the clan leader. Hearing that, the officer suddenly froze, his face breaking out in a cold sweat. From the clan leader, there was a mysterious creature with blood-red eyes, locked in a jar with an iron frame, that the muscular man had just brought over. Now let's see how he handles this. He is so strong that even veterans call him a monster. He wondered if he could cope with something like this. Verdia's expression suddenly darkened, looking very gloomy. She smirked with a sinister smile. Release it at dawn. Scene changed when the sun shone brightly through the canopy. In the forest, Zhang was holding a long tube in his hand, looking ahead with curiosity. Celine also felt something strange. Did the ground just shake a bit? Lika, walking in front, frowned, then assessed the situation with a serious face. It seemed so. What was that? Such a strange feeling. A blonde bull, standing nearby, looked on innocently. Is it those upperclassmen again? Zhang started babbling random thoughts, making Lika feel annoyed. Maybe it's a monster, like a fierce wild boar or something like that. Her expression grew worse by the second. But why does it feel like? Suddenly, a sound reached their group, a violent, loud noise. From right above their heads, a massive ancient tree was tilting, about to fall. Lika realized it. She shouted loudly to warn everyone around. The tree is falling. Everyone, get back. Their whole group struggled to move, quickly diving away from the massive falling trunk. After dodging it, Lika looked back in confusion. What the hell? Celine recognized it with a look of terrified panic. That is, Zhang looked up trembling in fear, while the kid next to him stared intently. A monster with a body made entirely of stone, and 2 blood-red eyes appeared abruptly. A golem. Zeke was looking up with an indifferent, reckless expression. Is it time? He sighed, leaning against the pile of things that he had just captured. Outside, all around, officers were still patrolling throughout the forest. I am starting to get bored. No one is left who can challenge me. Truly disappointing. Suddenly in the distance, birds flew up hurriedly from the forest, and rapid thumping sounds echoed. Zeke was startled by all those sounds. A strange presence. He thought seriously to himself. It has been a long time since a monster of this level appeared. He suddenly glanced upward, thinking about a few random things. Or are they trying to imply something by releasing it in here? First generation clan leader from 1,000 years ago. But given the ability of these kids today, a 3-star opponent might be too much for them. Zeke sat perched up high, shaking his head, his whole body swaying from left to right. Things like this should have been handled by the instructors before the exam even started, right? No, that is not it. Verdia, with a seemingly gentle smile, is actually the one with the devious plan. Maybe they intentionally let it out. What exactly are they trying to do? Seriously? Because of that, he suddenly laughed with an amused look, eyes shining bright like high beams. But this makes it even better. Maybe I will get some entertainment after all. Zeke finally found something interesting, leaping down from above, preparing to leave. I can't just sit still. Here I come. You 3-star piece of work. If only it appeared near me, it would be more fun. Yet it appeared all the way over there. Over here, Celine was holding her sword, struggling to attack forward. Her entire body was blown back, without dealing even a bit of damage, not a scratch on the golem. As Celine landed on the ground, she looked up with deep concern. No way, it doesn't have a single scratch. Zeman grit his teeth hard, then used his weapon to leap up and attack the golem. Take this. His expression also showed how tough it was to face a golem that took 0 damage. Even with all that, it didn't even leave a scratch. Now it's Lika's turn, leaping up to unleash a strike called Thunder Slash. One arm of the golem has been slightly chipped after taking her direct hit. Realizing that, she smirked with a hint of triumph. It seems I can only break through its outer shell when I channel my inner energy. Which means this thing can only be taken down by a 2-star ranker. Zhang cautiously stepped forward from behind. With his hand still gripping his weapon, he hesitantly asked, Lika, what should we do now? All right. Lika spoke up with the aura of a commander. Listen up, everyone. The golem still stood tall right in front of them. As Lika began to explain her plan, I will distract it, while the rest of you run for it. None of her friends agreed. What? Zhang immediately tried to stop her. No way, we can't just leave you behind. Lika still aimed her fire-red weapon at the golem, focusing her gaze intensely forward. I know this might sound harsh, but you guys will only drag me down. The spot I just hit on its arm took everything I had just to make a tiny crack. Just a tiny bit. The golem with its massive body made of iron and stone stood there like an immovable fortress, puffing out clouds of white smoke from its mouth. Lika, standing small in the corner, gravely warned the others. With your current abilities, you can't even leave a dent on it. Celine looked over at her, lowering her voice as she realized the truth. It can't be. You're right. We can't even scratch this thing. Zeman stepped in front of Lika with fierce determination, raising his eyebrows with absolute resolve. But we can still provide cover for you, so Lady Lika can strike with more precision. Lika was taken aback, not understanding their motive. Her eyes showed total shock. What are you guys? After that, Zhang also raised his weapon, his eyes shining as he volunteered. I will give it everything I have got to. Celine stood behind, smiling in support. Exactly. If we all fight together, under your leadership, maybe we actually stand a chance. Lika was deeply moved by those words. Everyone, Lika smirked slightly, and then spoke in a low voice. Fine then, if that is the case. She stood back, channeling her energy into her sword, while everyone in front was ready. Give me some cover. Lika used all her strength, confidently letting her power explode outward. Here I come. Lika moved like a lightning bolt from behind the group, carrying her sword charged with massive energy, launching a powerful frontal assault. Standing right before the golem, it stared at her, ready to defend. As its massive arm swung down a heavy punch, Zeman rushed in with his shield to block for her. His face, while resisting, was becoming increasingly strained. The situation looked extremely dire. Zeman then backed off. Celine and Zhang simultaneously gripped their weapons and charged at the golem, while it was focused on those in front. The golem let its guard down, and Lika seized the moment. Leaping up from behind, she let out a scream and dealt a massive blow. Heavy soul lightning strike. A direct slash right into its body. A violent collision erupted, lighting up the whole area like a thunderous void. An explosion from deep within the forest suddenly blasted out with a terrifying shockwave. The ground was hammered by intense yellow energy currents. As Lika landed back on the ground, Zhang rushed over to check on her. "Are you alright?" She tried to force a casual smile. "But that last strike used up all my energy." Lika looked toward Celine, who was supporting Zeman, and asked with concern, "More importantly, Zeman, are you okay?" He struggled to answer. "I am fine." Lika felt a bit relieved. Then, as Lika was about to say something, the golem loomed up from right behind them. "Everyone, let's get back to base." Suddenly, Zhang was shoved aside by Lika before he could even react. She took the hit for him, and the golem crushed her within its massive palm. Lika. She couldn't breathe. Feeling the agonizing pain with every squeeze of the golem, I let my guard down. It can actually still move. Celine, supporting Zeman, was horrified by the sight. No way, how can it still be moving after that? Zeman also helplessly called her name in pain. Lika. Zhang, acting on impulse, without thinking, charged straight at the golem with his weapon. Let her go. The golem simply jerked its massive arm high into the air, then looked down at him with cold, dead eyes. He was paralyzed by the scene. Total panic. Lika. A sudden gale blew in from nowhere, warping everything in its path. The golem was hit by a massive pressure that sent it tumbling backward. One of the golem's shoulders was shattered by the impact. Lika was thrown to the ground. Zhang took the chance, rushing to help her deep into the forest. "Are you alright?" she whispered in confusion as they moved. "But who?" Zeke suddenly appeared with a strange grin. Raising his voice, "What is all this noise?" Lika looked up in surprise, sensing something familiar. "That voice is..." Zhang recognized him and called out his name. "See." Zeke suddenly leaped out from the large bushes, moving with incredible speed. "What have we got here?" He seemed amused, looking toward the golem ahead. "What is this dirt puppet?"